Good morning, everyone. We are going to start in a while. 1 more minute. We'll wait for others to come in. Okay. All right. Can you hear me now? Shall we start? Okay. So last week we started discussing about awareness, consciousness, and sleep. Right now we're going to focus more on sleep. This is the most fundamental thing that we are going to do that we need as human beings. Okay. So your sleep is controlled in the brain. Definitely, we'll discuss about that. We stop here, I remember, no? So if you are going to recall your definition of sleep, this is altered state of consciousness, the essential part of human beings in order to survive, no? This is one of the essential needs of a healthy person and every patient alike, okay? So the basic function of sleep actually is to replenish the body's spent energy, particularly after a day's work. All right, it needs to be replenished, and furthermore, it will allow time for the repair of tissues and for the consolidation of memories. No, there are three basic functions I mentioned earlier. These are the following: replenish the body's spent energy, allow time for repair of tissues because tissues are supposed to be destroyed also in a day. And there are so many experiences that we have. So it needs to be consolidated. It needs to be deposited in the unconscious. It needs to be segregated. It needs to be deposited afterwards in the unconscious. As I said earlier, last meeting, we discussed about the time we are spending on sleeping. No, basically, there's no doubt that is one of the most important aspects of human lives. Particularly if you're going to consider your hours of sleep every day. It takes a normal person to sleep at least around 8 hours, and if we're going to consider the number of hours every day that we have only, it will be 24 hours. So that means to say that 1/3 of our life is spent on sleeping. See, imagine if we have been alive for 30 years, that means to say 10 years of that is spent on sleeping alone, without considering the fact that during your childhood days, you were sleeping most of the days, maybe around 20 to 22 hours, no? When you were still infants or going to toddler, no? So that's basically the point. So technically, sleep takes over most of our time, and sleep is basically essential to our lives. Moving forward, the brain is definitely controlled in the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. So this is the control center. Although we cannot actually pinpoint a specific part of the cerebrum, basically the cerebrum takes charge when a man needs to sleep. Right now, in our body, there is what we call as the biological clock. It will dictate the time when a person needs to sleep. We call this biological clock, or otherwise known as circadian rhythm. No, The circadian rhythm is a 24-hour biological clock that controls a person waking on sleep. No, so this is the mechanism in our body that allows you to sleep and that allows you to wake up without your alarm clock. In short, this is our internal alarm clock. No, among the conditions that can affect the biological clock will be so many things, particularly the location, the condition of the day that I'm going to discuss later on. No, so if you're actually going to consider every day, at night time, there will be a time when you feel so sleepy. This is not at will. This is actually coming all of a sudden. This is actually dictated by your biological clock. The biological clock says you sleep, and you need to sleep on that particular day, no matter on that particular time, no matter what you're going to do. Even though you're going to drink a lot of Red Bull, but when the biological clock says wake up, sleep, you are going to sleep. At the same time, when you are going, when it's already in the morning because you said and you have been practicing that for lots and lots of times already, it will allow you to wake up. So let's say, for instance, if you have been waking up for around 5 or 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, your biological clock will always ask you to wake up without setting the alarm clock. No, so that's actually what it is. No, so biological clock is the clock within our body that sets the timing whether we are going to sleep or we are going to wake up. We call that also as circadian rhythm. This is set in 24-hour cycle. Okay. So moving forward, these are the following things that will affect your biological clock: change in routine. In nursing, essentially, if you're going to consider your duty or your shift, there are three, no? Morning, afternoon, and evening. Some of the nurses would always prefer morning, but other nurses would have no chance. They would be rotated and others would be assigned in the evening. So let's say, for instance, that you have been assigned in the morning for quite some time, then all of a sudden you are assigned in the evening. Maybe after 1 year or 2 years, you will all of a sudden will be assigned in the evening or night shift. So definitely there will be a change in your biological clock. At first, it will be difficult for you to wake up at night time, but essentially after a few days, your body is actually resetting your biological clock. In a way, it will adjust itself so that you will be awake at night time and you will be sleeping in the morning. This is actually the thing here. It will have the tendency to reset itself. Like, for instance, again, another one. For your patient, if a person is admitted in the hospital, there will be a sudden change also in his or her routine. And definitely this will affect his or her sleep pattern because there is no more time for him or for her to, let's say, spend for more productive ways. That means to say he may sleep at his own time so that he is actually changing his routine. Maybe he's awake in the morning and he's sleeping at night, or the other way around. He's awake at night time and then he is sleeping in the morning. So this will actually change everything, you see. So change in routine. Another one, shift work, I mentioned earlier to you. So this is somewhat related also to a change of what you're doing all the time, no? And as I mentioned to you earlier also, your medication. Patients who take sedative for depression or to help them sleep when they are ill may disturb your biological clock, as most of the time you are actually sleeping. So if you're going to give some sedatives, particularly some of the psychotropic drugs, anxiolytic drugs, no, where these things do have psychoactive properties and psychoactive ingredients, the tendency is that you feel so sleepy. I'll give you another example. No, if you feel if you take Flutab has a sedative effect. The moment you're going to take that, you may feel so sleepy. That's the reason why there are medicines that are given at night time, only at night time. Because when you're going to give that, particularly at night time, you are going to induce into sleep. So that's the thing, because it has sedative effect. So you have to understand that. Why is it that nighttime medicine will not be given in the morning? Just because of this purpose. No, it has psychoactive ingredients where the patient, if she takes this, may actually be induced into sleep. So medications is actually one that is going to be considered by a nurse, no, by you, whenever you're going to give that. So what are the properties? Essentially, you should know the properties of this medicine so that you should know what and how to advise your patient eventually. Now, moving forward, uh, in order to understand sleep, we are going to look into different stages. You try to recall that there are so many people who are complaining about inability to sleep, and there are people who are actually oversleeping. Maybe some of you are oversleeping, and some of you are undersleeping. Some of you even have so many have a disease. That's what we call is insomnia, inability to sleep. There are people who are difficult to be awakened, and there are people who can easily be, you see, sleeping, no? Or who can easily be induced into sleep. This has something to do with what stage of sleep you are in. So basically, you need to understand that in a human beings, the cycle of sleep will be within 8 hours. If you're going to look at the diagram here, no. So there are several stages of sleep, and basically we're going to have 8 hours of sleep, no. So there is a peak, and there is the off peak when you are actually awake. This one is awake stage, and this one is on stage 4 where you are actually dreaming. Then basically all your muscles will be paralyzed. We'll look at that as we go on, no? So the first phase of sleep is what we call as hypnagogic state. This is what we call as pre-sleep, the states marked by visual, auditory, and kinesthetic sensations. This is just like beginning of altered state of consciousness where you are considered as half awake and half asleep. Your senses are in the states of what we call as high alert. You see, your sense of hearing is always high. That means to say you could hear anything, but also your brain works so fast that you can actually create some images without the actual images. That's why we call it visual and auditory sensations. There would be some sort of hallucinations in this case. So as I give you the example last week, no? When you are watching television, for instance, when your body says you are going to sleep, you are in between wakefulness and sleeping. So definitely you are hyper vigilant. Your senses are hyper vigilant, but your consciousness is about to be altered. You are not fully conscious in a way. So you are about to sleep. That's why you are in the pre-sleep state. You get the point. So just like also you when you are attending classroom, I think I remember Rama give example of being asleep in the classroom. No, so that was it. No, when you feel so sleep in the classroom, especially at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when the lecture is very boring. If you're going to consider yourself, if you're going to look at your experiences there, your senses are hyper vigilant, but you are half awake and half sleeping. We call it pre-sleep states. So that is the first stage of sleeping. Okay. In phase 2, we call it non-REM. What is the meaning of REM? REM means rapid eye movement. No, when you say non-REM, your eyes are not moving rapidly. Why is it that we are always going to consider REM? Because REM is always associated with dreaming. So that's the reason why in phase 2, non-REM sleep, you are not yet dreaming. You see, not all sleeps will induce you to dream. That's the reason why there are times when you are sleeping but not dreaming. So essentially, if we're going to look and consider the function of sleep, sleep will consolidate all your memories per day. If you are going to have a lot of experiences, your deludes with so many experiences, sometimes your brain cannot process that in a single day, in a single sleep. So sometimes it will be difficult to it will be difficult to store that in your memory. That's the reason why sometimes you may actually dream of something else. Okay, like for instance, you are going to dream of a monster, you're going to dream of a ghost maybe who is catching over you or running after you. So sometimes you may not actually be relaxed, so you may not sleep properly. So when you wake up, you feel so tired just because of anxiety. Anxiety plays a very important role in our sleeping pattern. So we'll discuss more about that as we go on. So let's start with stage one. Stage one, phase two, that is non-REM sleep. The alpha waves is left, so that means to say very short, no? Awake but not in relaxed state. You are not relaxed. Your muscles are not relaxed, no? So other happenings here is that you are hallucinating already extension of your pre-sleep. Your hallucination is more intensified or more intense, and there is hypnotic sensations. You are basically sleeping, but not totally sleeping or not deeply sleeping. Okay? To ensure your sleep here is still very shallow. Right. Moving forward, stage two. This is irregular stage, no? Other occurrences in your irregular states will be half talking, half sleep talking, and sleep twisting. So here, you may actually start talking, no? So be careful about that, right? Or maybe sleepwalking or sleep twisting, no? When you are actually dreaming about something else. So you are not basically dreaming, but you are actually moving somewhere else. You talk something else, no? So that's in stage two. Moving forward, in stage three, this is what we call as transitional stage. You are about to go to deep sleep already, but not dreaming yet. So this is where you are going to have transition from the lighter irregular waves to deep sleep. In deep sleep will be stage four. That will be the initial one when you are going to start dreaming, right? But your dream may not be stable. That's the reason why some of you here could easily forget what you dream about. Now remember this, if you're going to dream, essentially sometimes we cannot remember when we wake up simply because it's in stage four. You are in phase two non-REM stage four sleep. You are starting to dream, no? So stage three is a transition, right? Lighter irregular waves, that means to say you are in light sleep going to deep sleep, where your muscles are about to be relaxed. In stage four, this is called the delta waves, or sometimes called the rapid eye movement. So it will initiate your dream. It will initiate REM sleep or dreaming. No? So this can be manifested by sleepwalking. You walk, you be wet, and you are going to have what we call as difficulty to awaken. What do you mean by difficulty to awaken? All your muscles are relaxed, no matter what you are going to do to them. To the person who is actually deeply sleeping, they may not remember, they may not recall, you cannot awake them. It's very impossible to wake them because they are already transitioning from stage four to phase number three. That is what we call as sleep REM sleep or rapid eye movement sleep, where the basic feature in phase three is rapid eye movement. No, REM stands for rapid eye movement. There is indication of high frequency brain waves from alpha wave in your initial phase of sleeping to delta wave, where your brain is very relaxed. And there are also paralysis of large muscles. And the one basic picture here is your dreaming. Yeah? So dream. Everything is actually deposited in your brain. All your experiences for the day is actually deposited in your brain. And this will actually connect your muscle, your brain, your neurons, and it will generate images. The images that you may have will be based from the unconscious that you could actually have, based from the experiences that you have in the past. So that's the reason why sometimes there are people who are actually dreaming of something else, maybe half half lion, half man. So like the Sphinx. Just because you could have associated this with your past experiences, no? So your brain can create something even though this something is inanimate. So the basic idea is that in your phase 3 sleep, you are actually sleeping where your muscles are totally paralyzed. You are going to treat them out of the bed, they will not be awakened. So take note of that, no? So basically, you should know that that's the reason why in the hospital, if the patient is sleeping very deeply, better to leave them alone. Do not wake them up to get vital signs, because if you're going to do that, then you are disturbing their sleep. Now, if you're going to recall, one of the function of sleep is biological function. That means to say, replenish your spent energy, and at the same time will be for your repair. Because when you're sleeping, your muscles are totally paralyzed totally. Therefore, there is less activity in the muscles. There are less activity in the human anatomy. Therefore, if there is less activity, your cells will be allowed to recuperate. Your cell will be allowed to replenish. And of course, the energy that would have been spent when you are awake would actually be replaced also. So take note of that. So when the patient is sleeping deeply, then do not wake them up. This is the basic mistake of novice nurses, new nurses, just because they really would like to get their vital signs very badly, they wake up the patient even though the patient is totally sleeping in phase 3, much more. So this is actually the thing that you should bear in mind as nurses to be. Do not wake up the patient when the patient is totally sleeping. Right? Any questions so far, class? Right? So there are three phases: phase one, phase two, and phase three. Phase one, hypnagogic; phase two, non-REM; and phase three, REM sleep. In phase two, there are four stages: stage one, stage two, stage three, and stage four. Stage three will be transition. Stage four will actually be initially you are going into deep sleep, and of course after stage four, you proceed to stay to phase three, which we call that as REM sleep, where you are basically relaxing your all muscles, and at the same time you are dreaming 100%. Okay, dreaming is the essential feature in your REM sleep. Any questions so far? Are you following me? Can I hear an answer? No answer? Okay. So I have some answers here through text.
Yes, we
All
can.
right. Okay. Moving forward now. So let's proceed now with the importance of sleep. So this is the reason why we need to sleep. We love to sleep. Basically, human beings would like to sleep, especially when you have a lot of problems, no? So that's the thing that you do when you have a lot of problems. You have to sleep over it. The following day, when you wake up, you can actually have the solutions. You can solve the problems that you may actually have. All right. So that's the reason why it's called consolidation. One of the basic function of sleep is for the consolidation of memory. If you have some questions that are not answered or that cannot be answered easily, sometimes you need to sleep over it, because when you're going to sleep over it, solutions will actually come. So many scientific breakthroughs have been solved because of sleep. I'll give you one example in biochemistry: the discovery of the structure of benzene. No, Kirkuk was the person who is responsible in the discovery of benzene. Kirkuk was always thinking about what could be the structure of benzene. He was trying to identify the structure, the structural formula of benzene, but he could not actually come out with any. Benzene is a hydrocarbon, of course. Basically, it's just like that. Then he sleep over it. When he wakes in his sleep, his brain became active. It was processed. The problem that was there was processed. You see, one of the basic function of your brain is to process the memory that you actually have, to process the experiences that you have, with the bad or good. So when Kirkuk was sleeping, he dreamt of a snake biting its tail. So that seemed to be very strange. When you wake up, that idea of a snake biting its tail stick, no? So when actually he analyzed the situation, he was able to come out with a solution of the problem that he was thinking about, the structural formula of benzene. You see, where carbons are interconnected, no? So eight carbon atoms will actually be interconnected, coming out with the circular structural formula of that particular hydrocarbon, which is benzene. And I said, Boylan, he discovered the structural formula of benzene. Benzene is actually very useful as of now. So that is the main that is the main concept. Why is it that we need to sleep? No, sleep is very important because another one, in case of loss of sleep, there are so many problems that will actually happen to us. Number one, this will actually lead us into weakened concentration. We cannot concentrate. If you're going to look at our bodily functions, there could be trembling of the hands. There could be irritability in our mode, and basically there will be poor judgment. When you lack sleep, particularly when you're thinking about so many things in a day, then when you are trying to sleep, you cannot sleep. Then definitely when you are going to wake up or the following day, you're going to lose concentration. You are going to have a very poor judgment about everything. If you're going to have very poor judgment, then do not drive. Most of the people who encounter accident when they're driving could not have slept a day before. So simple judgment, like for instance, turning left or turning right would be disastrous. So poor judgment is there. No, it may actually give you drive accidents, and of course, slow performance. No, inaccurate and inefficient work, and of course, in between there could be hallucinations induced by lack of sleep. It is there. These all are the things that may actually come to you when you lack sleep. That's the reason why essentially I need to advise you to sleep, particularly before examination. All the students are doing this wrongly, you know. Most of the time before they are going to take their examination, let's say there will be a quiz the following day, the tendency is that even though it's not the habit, the tendency is that they are left awake the whole night. The following day, they cannot concentrate on what questions are being asked. They cannot answer the questions. So chances are they're going to fail also. That is basically what's going on with some students or most of the students that we have. They are doing entirely different thing. They are actually thinking that when they are awake the whole night, the thing that they were trying to review will stick in the brain. It will not stick in the brain. You're going to encounter mental block. For decisions, you cannot even choose. You are actually irritable in a way. You quarrel with other people by a single or by a simple mistake or by a simple provocation. You cannot you cannot remember anything. That will be worse. Essentially, you will end up a failure. You see? That's the reason why I always advise my students. Now, prior to examination, do not lose sleep. Yeah? You sleep normally. How? Sir, maybe you're going to ask, how will I prepare for your examination, for my examination, when I'm going to sleep early and I'm before the examination? You see, it is actually essential part of the student to study every day. You have to study every day. See, you have to set your time frame. You have to set your biological clock so that you are going to sleep on an appointed time, let's say 10 o'clock in the evening. So before that, you have to study. You have to read your notes. You have to read your books. You have to do some essential readings in order to prepare yourselves for the examination. When examination comes, you do not need to spend extra hour, extra 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours just to memorize what is supposed to be included in the examination. you are going to end up failure, or you may not remember anything. That will be exercise in futility, because chances are when you're going to study like that, you cannot remember anything when you grow up or when you will become a nurse already. You will forget everything that you studied for the examination, and it will be useless. So basically, that's the point. As a student, you have to study continuously. Do not study only the whole night when you're going to take your examination. It will be an exercise in utility. You got it? Understood? I believe you're doing this almost every moment of the day. As of now, everybody's relaxed. After our class today, forget about the class of Dr. Arnel. Sometimes you do not even take down notes. And sometimes you do not even read the PowerPoint that I'm actually giving you. The worst thing is that you do not actually refer to the book. Now, when you're going to have a quiz already, what happens is that you cram a day before the quiz. See? Entirely, you are not doing anything. Then all of a sudden, you're going to cram. So what do you think will happen? See? When you get lucky, maybe you can memorize. But most of the time, you will not be lucky. Don't leave everything to chance. Continue study every day, right? And when examination comes, do not extend the time when you are going to read. Do not extend the time when you are going to study. Just the ordinary things. Read somewhat, or maybe you will go through all the materials that you had. I'm so sure you understood that already because you keep on studying every day. So you sleep on time. The following day you will be fresh. And all the things that you studied beforehand prior would actually be easily remembered by you. That's the point, no? That's why you have to study very well almost every day, not only during the examinations. As I mentioned to you, you may actually have poor judgment. See, I remember many years ago, I had one student, I sad to say, when you did not have your online examination yet, we have this MCQ paper, right? One student, after 5 minutes, she finished the exam. You know what did she do? I was surprised. No, I did not ask question, but I let her go outside the examination room. When the examination, the, when I examined the MCQ sheet, she shaded all letter E from 1 to 100. After 5 minutes, she was able to shade all the letter E's of 100 items. Yeah. Of course, what do you expect? She failed because normally I'm actually maybe one or two or three questions would actually be given a choice of letter E. See? So that's the thing. Maybe the person was not ready. The person was not prepared, right? So lucky she repeated 1 year, and she was able to pass eventually. She learned her lesson the hard way. All right? You understood? Mm. Moving forward, these are some of the theories of sleeps that we could actually look into in order to interpret our sleeping, in order to understand our sleeping pattern. We have to look into several theories of sleep and dreams. Sleep is for repair and restoration. That's number one. That's the basic function. What does it do? No? Sleep allows for recuperation from physical, emotional, and intellectual fatigue. Right. Remember this, when you are awake for 16 hours, 8 plus 8. Remember, you are made up of 24, your day is made up of 24 hours. And 8 hours of that, actually, of that will be spent on sleeping. That will leave you around 16 hours of being awake. Maybe 8 hours is intense work. You see, maybe you are in the office, you are in the hospital, you are with the patient, you are with your job, normal day job with hours, and after that, you do your extracurricular activities, family activities, your individual activities. That will cover another 8 hours. So basically, your brain is exposed. because you utilize a lot of decision-making power. You utilize a lot of energy. Every second of the day, you are using your brain. You are destroying your brain also. You know that in your anatomy, that your brain is dying every day, and sometimes it may not actually, it may not, let's say, regenerate. You know for a fact that your nervous system is dying every day. You are dying every day. Billions of cells die every day. You see? So it will be reduced. It will die. You need to reconnect the brain because once that the tissues have been affected, then therefore you may not actually think properly because the interconnection between two neurons may not be affected. That's the reason sometimes we actually get some sort of forgetfulness. When you grow old, when there are no recuperations that would happen in your cells, your neurons, no, what happens that you tend to forget, and you may develop a very very grave biological disorder of your neurons, no, Alzheimer's disease. That is irreversible. You know for a fact that brain may not regenerate. The moment that you're going to lose your neurons, it will not go back. It has, you see, that's the reason why at night time you have to replenish the spent energy. When you are thinking, you are also spending so much energy. See? Now, going back to your how you're going to interpret that. Now, you learn in your biochemistry, isn't it? That in your biochemistry, that your cell actually generates energy every day, generates energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate can actually be generated from glycolysis and the Krebs cycle. Glycolysis, there will be 32, yes, 32, no, 6. And then in your Krebs cycle, you generate more, around 30 ATP. So when you are actually awake, when you are making decision-making process, all these energies are going to be spent. Therefore, if you're going to produce ATP, you're going to need and require much, much more food. So basically, everything is actually interconnected in a way somehow. So therefore, when you are actually going to sleep, it will allow your neurons to repair itself, and it will allow also for restoration of your damaged cells in the body. Damaged cells, all parts, no, associated with the brain, maybe blood, yeah, and all other anatomical structures that you may actually have, not necessarily neurons alone. See, blood is also needed in the brain, isn't it? Because the blood is required to deliver oxygen and at the same time nutrients in order to make the neurons function and work or do its work. So that's actually the key here, no? Repair and restoration. Do you understand? Do you follow me, class? I'm not receiving any answer. Do you follow me? Can you follow? Do you hear me at least? Hello? Can I confirm that you are still there?
Yes,
Yes.
Doctor, following.
Very good. No, because sometimes I need to affirm that students are still there online because it's very difficult on my part just to talk and talk as if no one is actually essentially sharing. So do you understand repair and restoration? Yeah. So when you sleep, you repair your brain and at the same time other tissues. Because you see every day, like for instance, you jog in Corniche, you walk in Corniche. So what happens that your muscles work so hard, your blood stream work so hard, and other parts of your body actually work so hard. So what will happen is that when you are going to relax, you are going to replenish all your necessary damaged muscles, damaged cells, damaged tissues, and at the same time, of course, your brain will also be repaired and will also be restored. That's actually basically it. When you say repair and restoration as one of the basic theory of sleep, that's the reason why we need to sleep because of that. Okay. So moving ahead, the other important theory that will cover your sleep is evolutionary or circadian. No, I think initially I explained to you about this last week when we tackled about how our ancestors sleep at night. No, sleep evolved to conserve energy. Number one, to conserve energy, and number two, to protect our ancestors from predators. Now, just imagine the world without electricity. Just imagine the world without the comfort of our house, without the security of our compound. So basically, the world is very dangerous because of this. No, what made it dangerous? Because there are so many predators around. In the morning, we are the king of the world. You know what I mean? We can be predators. We eat everything. We hunt for everything so that in order to survive. Now, at night time, our role will actually be or would actually be reversed because we could not actually see, we could not hunt at night. So it would be reversed. So in the daytime, we are predators. At nighttime, we are prey to the predators also. In short, there is a danger that we can actually be eaten by predators like lions, like hyenas, like tigers. No, they hunt also at nighttime. So the tendency that we have to retreat. Where do we retreat? Our ancestors would not have the ability to construct before the arrival of house trees. So our ancestors would actually retreat to caves because they thought that would be the safest place for them to go there. So at cave, there would always be night because there was no light. There would be no light until they invented fire. You see, man would actually evolve according to what they need. So at first they would be retreating at nighttime in the cave. So basically, our ancestors would think about something else. They would not do anything there, so they would sleep. Yeah. So at nighttime, they retreat in the cave. They would sleep until such time that it becomes a part of their lifestyle. Until such time that it's passed through generation to generation. That's the reason why at night time, you see, if you're a parent yourself, you try to find where your children are. Just because nighttime is always associated with danger. So the only safest place that we can actually have or we can actually assume is that our man cave, the cave that is located in our own house, we will be safe in our own house. You see? So your family members, your parents would always be freaking out when they found out that you are not still there at night time. That is actually why is it that we call it evolutionary or circadian. The sleep that we have is evolutionary and circadian. It becomes a part of us because of the necessity, because we need to protect ourselves from predators. Right? And at nighttime also, since we are not hunting, we were not hunting, so we could actually rest, therefore we could conserve our energy to live for another day and to hunt for another day. That's basically the point in this regard, evolutionary and circadian. So automatically at daytime, when the sun rises, especially outside the cave, they know. So they have to wake up. Our ancestors would have to wake up and hunt again until such time that evolution took over. Behavioral evolution is there. Evolutionary cycle would actually be there. You see, that's what we call evolutionary and circadian theory of sleep and dreams. Understood? Now, now moving forward, the next theory of sleep and dream is psychoanalytic. Now, dreams represent disguised symbols of repressed desires and anxieties. No, that could be manifested versus latent content, manifest and latent content. No, it has something to do with the theory of Sigmund Freud. No, psychoanalytic, because every day there are so many things that we are actually encountering. There are problems, but that we try to solve. Right? There are things that we try to accomplish in a day, and there are wishful thinking that we would have done or we would like to do. But unfortunately, we have tons of activities every day. We dream about activities every day. We need to complete our activities every day, but unfortunately, we cannot actually do that. That's the reason why when you retire at night, your brain would process that information and a little bit. When there are things that are not done on that particular day, it will actually become, it will come into dream. Yeah? So your dream will actually try to look your day experiences that you may have stored in your brain and try to solve or try to make a solution on the problems that you may have encountered on that particular time, right? The problems may be in the form of anxiety or in experiences that arose anxiety, in experiences that arose desire, in experience that would actually have given way to our, let's say, desires for that particular day, unfulfilled dream, unfulfilled activity. So that's the reason why when you are actually going to sleep, it will be processed. Your experiences will be processed. The example that I could give you here is the example of Kirkuk that I mentioned earlier. He was thinking about how to solve the problem. You see, that's how the problem of being seen. And at night time, he was able to come out with the symbol. And there are so many people who actually came afterwards, no, who followed him, solving many problems at night time when they are sleeping. That is psychoanalytic, no? And of course, biological, as I told you earlier, dreams represent random activation of brain cells during sleep. Yeah? Biological, you need to replenish your energy. Now, of course, upon replenishing, since you lost, you're going to look at this, no? The connection between axons, between neurons would be through axons, no? And the nerve endings. So, of course, the nerve endings would always be, let's say, overused every day. Sometimes connections will not be there. So, whatever happens during the time when you're actually replenishing all the physiological parts and anatomical parts of your neurons, it will actually fire up at random energy that will also activate dreams. No? So the dreams associated would be associated with random activation of brain cells. That's the reason why, although you could not, you notice this, there are dreams that are actually coming out that would not be an offshoot of our activity. It could be a dream associated with our past experiences way back 20 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago. It actually comes because immediately it could have actually triggered the memory center, the part that could actually have restored that particular memory when you were still young. Now remembers our experiences could not have been come out in the open most of the time. There are always experiences that are repressed. We do not want to remember that, but it's still there. So that's the reason why when we are going to dream, sometimes it becomes a random memory. Therefore, this random memory could be associated with nightmare, no? It could have been associated with experiences that we have in the past that otherwise we would not remember and we do not want to remember because simply these experiences that we had were so painful. All right? The other aspect, the other theory of sleep and dream would be cognitive, no? Dreams will help to sit and sort the events of the day, as I mentioned to you earlier. So it will actually process the event of the day, no matter what. Just like what you're doing physically, what are you going to do after actually coming out from your work, after coming out from your school? You see, of course, when you're going to school, most of you actually attend lectures, attend classes, attend activities. Now, when you go back home, what happens is that you unclutter yourselves. You are going to designate every assignment that you would actually have, experience that you would actually have for every subject. Maybe you read, you plan for what you're going to do for every subject. That's what you're supposed to do when you arrive home after your class. In similar way, after you jump, you are going to do the same. Likewise, your brain will do the same way. No, it will actually try to process your day-to-day activity so that all the experiences may be deposited in every area of the brain where it is associated with. That's how orderly your brain works. That's how we generate sleep and dream. That's how we associate sleep and dream with our daily or day-to-day activities. Right? Moving forward, sleep disorders, no? So definitely when you're not able to sleep, you may encounter disorders, right? Any questions for class? Because after this, there will be another topic. I'm going to start with a new topic, no? Right, sensation and perception in a way. Now, for now, let's continue with sleep disorders. So basically, when you have difficulty over sleeping, there will be a problem. That's the reason why we call it disorders, no? So we have major disorder like dysomnia. This means this is actually characterized by abnormality, inability to, something like that, no? So there are so many disorders under dysomnias. One of that disorder is insomnia, no? Insomnia, everybody actually comes utilize this word, no? Insomnia. Insomnia refers to a difficulty in getting to sleep or remaining asleep and has many causes. All right? Do you understand insomnia? Somehow you have experienced like that, class? Especially when you know that you're going to have your grades released, no? Maybe because of anxiety, right? So insomnia refers to a difficulty in getting to sleep or remaining asleep and has many causes. Like for instance, no, your biological clock is setting you to sleep at around 10 o'clock. That means to say automatically at 10 o'clock you need to be asleep already. But just because of a known reason or a known reason, maybe because of your anxiety, because of your fear, you will not able to sleep. So your sleep pattern is altered in a way. And if you are not going to sleep for a series of days, then you may actually have this so-called insomnia. Sometimes insomnia could be associated with our concerns every day, no? Another one, of course, most of the time, the insomnia that we have would always be situational insomnia, no? This is called or related always to anxiety. All right. Now, of course, we have drug-induced, no? The use of sleeping pills, for instance, or other drugs can result in insomnia also, because drug-induced or sleeping pills will induce us to sleep. And when we wake up, there will be a problem. Drug-related or also actually may be associated here because, let's see, like the most famous Shibu that we actually have, the methamphetamine hydrochloride, or we call it crack, or we call it Shibu in other country. These are synthetic drugs that will allow you to be awake for 3 days. You see? So imagine you are awake for 3 days. It will be very difficult because your body will actually give in. Your body will give up. There is no repair and restoration. So you are destroying your own body in a way. No? So waking up for 3 days as a result of your drug, as a result of illegal drug. No? Sleep apnea is another problem that we may encounter. No? Apnea means absence of breathing. So a person stops breathing and is awakened when blood levels of carbon dioxide is actually there, is increased. You are sleeping because you have enough oxygen in the room. But there will be a time that you stop breathing. So when you stop breathing, there is no intake of oxygen, and there is the accumulation of carbon dioxide in the blood. So there is a high concentration of carbon dioxide and low concentration of oxygen, no? So you are going, but your body will actually induce itself to be awakened, no? It will stimulate breathing, yeah? Another sleep disorder under dysomnia is called narcolepsy, no? that sleep appears at odd times. You do not know. Like say, for instance, at 9:30, you are still sleepy right now. Maybe some of you here are sleepy already. That's narcolepsy. All right. So this is a problem, no? You should be on the watch out, particularly when you're driving, because you may actually encounter accident just because of this. Moving forward, there is also what we call as the sleep attack, the urge to sleep during the day. See, uh, especially when you are actually very tired, your body seems to be very tired and it does not replenish itself, its energy. Therefore, when you're going to wake up, there is the urge to sleep, at least during the day. No? All right. Parasomnia is another major disorder under sleep. No? In parasomnias, we have nightmares. This is anxiety arousing dreams generally occurring during REM sleep. In your dreaming, you're going to dream about monsters, you are dreaming about killers, you are dreaming about creatures that would actually have haunted you. You see? That's nightmare. Of course, it cannot kill you because the monster that's about to kill you, when it kills you, when you're about to kill you, you are going to wake up. No, you think that you're not killed during that particular time. That's nightmare. No, night terror is another one. Abrak weakening from non-REM. In night sleep, this could actually associated with apnea also because when there is increased accumulation of carbon dioxide in the blood and decreased oxygen in the blood, what happens is that you are going to be loose into dreaming of bad things. Particularly when you're going to dream of bad things, when you wake up, it would actually have been associated with some of the physiological responses that you may actually have. Let's say, for instance, when somebody is trying to catch you know, villains, for instance, when you are sleeping, would actually run after you. And when you're about to wake up, when you're about to be caught, you wake up. So the tendency is that you do actually have hyperventilation. There is arousal. You see, you may hyperventilate. Your blood pressure is actually increased, and everything is there. You're trying to catch your breath, and you are panicking. So all this will actually indicate into night terrors, just like your life and death would actually be ended. Your life will be ended, and death is actually impending. And many people are dreaming like this. So it's called night terrors. All right. Here are some of the tips that you need to do in order to improve sleep. Of course, the first thing that you have to do is to avoid worrying. If you worry a lot, then you may not sleep. No. But of course, you have to avoid worrying. There are so many ways to avoid worrying. As your parents would actually tell you, leave all the problems behind. That means to say, when you are in the hospital, you have problem in the hospital, leave that problem in the hospital, and you are going to have a new day, a new time to face your family. So leave everything behind. Don't worry about everything because everything will be solved. Do not take a nap before night sleep. You know the fact that at 10 o'clock, it's your biological clock that said that you need to sleep. Therefore, you may not take a nap. It's good to take a nap in the afternoon, maybe 30 minutes, but before you go to sleep, do not take a nap. Do not drink caffeine, Red Bull, coffee, tea before you are going to sleep. Because chances are, the more caffeine you take, the less chance for you to sleep. And eat rich food and drinking milk. You have to do that, no? And of course, you have to reinforce your biological clock by sleeping on a regular timetable. Then you jog, you do exercise, you do relaxation techniques. You see, you walk, you do exercise every day. Chances are when you are going to sleep, you are going to have a nice sleep pattern, right? So, any question about sleep? No, we are done with consciousness. We are done with sleep. Now we'll proceed with awareness. After this, I'm going to let you have a break, and we'll start with a new class. Or would you like to have a break first? Class, you would like to have a break first? have a 5-minute break, okay? Please join me at 9:36. All right. Thank you. Okay, 10 minutes. Take a coffee break.